I had the great pleasure of being invited to Logically's second event, LogicCon, in Columbus, Ohio, the week of the 15th of October, 2024. Logically is a managed service provider, but a very large one. I've also had the great pleasure of being acquired. I was the first MSP to be acquired by Logically. So I feel like I'm really part of the community still, or part of the family still. But I went on site, they had a great event. I set up the podcast booth. I had a lot of great conversations with the staff of Logically, with some vendors that were there, and some other people. It was a great time. I'm humbled and thankful that I got the opportunity to do that. The following is one of the conversations at this great event. I want to thank Logically for letting me do this. I had a great time. Thanks for listening.
Hi, I'm Joey Pinz, and here's my 45-second introduction. After starting my business in the 90s, I started developing poor habits of eating in my diet because of working way too much. I found myself at 340 pounds. The doctor told me if I don't lose the weight, I'm not going to see my daughter graduate. I took the next 7 months, lost 130 pounds. People ask me, how'd you do it? What's the secret? I need to lose weight. How'd you do it? How did I lose the weight? Just one word: discipline. I've had other successes in life, and I attribute them all to discipline. Now, I'm not the king of discipline, but I believe that it can help all of us. Friends convinced me to start a podcast. The podcast mission: how do we better ourselves and society? I talk to interesting people in health, fitness, sport, wellness, business, technology, science, art, and culture. And I eventually ask them how discipline plays a role in their life. Podcast vision: growth through learning from others. Tell me a little bit about yourself personally.
Okay. Uh, Personally, I live in Portland, Maine.
Yeah.
I have a wonderful wife and 9-year-old son living with me there, um, and enjoy golfing and the few warm months a year that we have in Portland. And I enjoy the other months as well.
Yeah,
But
very cool.
moved to Portland to join Logically 6 years ago. I had
From?
been in the Boston area for about 30 years prior to that.
I see. Come a little closer.
Yep, sorry.
And so I don't hear Boston in your voice at all.
No, I grew up in Connecticut. So,
Where in Connecticut?
Manchester.
So I'm
Yep.
from Wallingford.
Oh, okay. Yep, not far, not far.
Yeah, not far at all. Yeah.
Yeah.
What parallels can you bring with being a CFO and golf?
Frustrating at times. No, I think very a mental game, and I find my work to be very mentally challenging, and golf is as well. So I think that's probably what attracts me to it.
It sure is. Yeah. What can MSPs, smaller MSPs,
Yep.
what can they learn from having a good CFO? I'm sure a lot of them don't, but they need it.
Yeah, I think it is something that many founder-run MSPs that are smaller don't invest in that. But I think just some of the discipline, some of the information that can be garnered, where you're not running your business so much by gut feel, but by metrics and KPIs that are important to measuring your growth, is something that I think a lot of more smaller MSPs could benefit from. They seem to, as they grow, if they become acquired by a private equity firm, then that kind of financial discipline gets thrust upon them.
Yes, yeah.
But it's, I think, a valuable investment for them to make probably earlier than they do.
It's so tough for them to kind of decide when to pull the trigger on
Yep,
something like
definitely, definitely. I think most I find are more. They have a finance person who handles the compliance, the nuts and bolts of getting a books closed versus helping them chart a strategic financial path.
So I think I have the pleasure of being the first MSP acquired.
You were.
Yeah.
Of about 10 or 11 that we acquired in a 4-year period,
Yeah.
yours was the first.
2019. I
Yep.
loved coming up there to Portland, and I work with Mike and Chris still now.
Yep.
And yeah, it was,
Got our foothold into Connecticut, and with a wonderful customer base that we acquired from your business.
yeah, yeah, really, really cool. So what can MSPs learn from this, from experience?
I think from the experience of the path of acquisition that we took, there's a
Yeah.
lot of lessons that even I have said, boy, I wish if we had a time machine, I would do it all over again. I think the biggest one is integration. It's very hard. Many MSPs have built such a strong culture of being a founder-run business, that there's a fear to assimilate them into a platform too quickly and be disruptive. In my opinion, the disruption happens. It's better to I don't know, rip the Band-Aid off. Sounds like it's a painful analogy, but to do that, to move quickly, get everyone through change in a fast pace, because you will end up with a more cohesive unit going forward. And that's something that, although we did this at Logically, I feel like it could have been done even faster, and it would have caused less turbulence in the end.
Yeah, I think that's the case because it's my position that many MSPs are overtooled. They have more tools that they pay for so many, they don't use them all. So when it comes to this time to integrate, it's like, well, why are we still having this? We only use it for one customer. You know, so there's you really need to kind of.
It made serving our customers really challenging too. You know, at one point after this acquisition string that we went on, we taking a step back, customers would call in, and we had 8 different backup tools we were using as an example across the company. So depending on which technician you got on the phone, they may or may not have any familiarity with that tool. So that when I say integration, it's things like that. Consolidate tools, consolidate under one umbrella as quickly as possible, because it gets very hard to manage.
So we're here in Columbus, Ohio. It's LogicCon, Logically's second event. Having a great time. What's some of your goals here, Karl?
Just get some education for myself. Being a finance person, I'm always intrigued by just some of the knowledge I can gain about cybersecurity, what we can do. And it's such an evolving space. There are new threats, new challenges every single year, that every few months that we talk as a management team. Being able to share that with our customers. You know, this is what I really love about this event is it's not a selling event. We're not here to promote Logically and our services. We're here to educate. And we have some wonderful partners here that help us put on this event. Of course, obviously, you know, it's good for us in our businesses overall to build awareness, but we're not doing this as a sales pitch. We're doing this as an education for our clients, help them stay protected in a very challenging world of cybersecurity.
Yeah, and it's really evident here. You know, you can tell it's just an educational. We're having people up there on stage just talking about experiences. Has AI influenced your position?
You know, somewhat. I think it's emerging. You know, I think a lot of the technologies, and we find this both in finance, but also in even our own team, people are pitching AI as already involved in a lot of their technologies, and they're not over promising, but the headlines are stronger than when you actually get a hold of a tool. I'm finding I'm using it in more smaller ways. Copilot making things more efficient, whether it's data analysis, writing. You know, most products that I use in my work aren't fully integrated into AI yet. And even where they are, and we've even found this with some products that on our service delivery side are pitched as highly AI enabled, they're very beta at this point. And the use cases that they're beneficial for, I am sure this will evolve. It's very early stages, but that's why we're being really cautious. We're testing, seeing where we can glean, you know, some efficiencies, but it's not earth-shattering change yet. But I'm confident 3 years from now, much like every technological advancement that I've seen, it will be.
How do you think it's going to help?
I think just making common tasks more repeatable, taking human just speed, efficiency out of it. You know, we talk about ways we envision being able to, you know, routing tickets to the right technician, given their skill sets based on the problem described, things like that. And from a finance perspective, just speed of automation of tasks. You know, that's really where we can benefit the most.
When I talk to MSPs, Karl, the 3 things that keep them up at night, and it's been pretty consistent for the last 4 or 5 years. One is security. They're worried about, and this is the theme here, you know, are their clients going to click something and they're going to let something in? 2 is just human capital. How am I going to replace this great technician if they leave? There's these big companies paying big money. How am I going to get more? And then 3rd, with the advent of PE, just growth in general, and many MSPs are technology led. They're not good at sales. How are they going to grow? I wonder what you consider those 3.
I think that you nailed them. Those are the 3 that we're concerned about. I mean, talent, our people are our inventory. They're the products that we're selling. So keeping our talent happy keeping them engaged is a really challenging thing, especially in now a remote world where, you know, everyone can work for any company from anywhere. It makes it very, very challenging to retain talent. And I think growth is another challenge as well. You know, there are certain aspects of MSP business that I think are becoming commoditized to a certain degree, but there are also very high value services that our expertise is incredibly important in, and it's being able to talk to our clients about the value we provide and what differentiates us from competitors. And I think in Logically's case, it's a lot of different things. It is that national base versus local providers of technology and talent that we can offer, and our security. I think we have a very leading edge firewall protection and management service that most MSPs are just trying to develop, where we start ahead because of an acquisition that we did here in Dublin of a wonderful cybersecurity business early on.
Wow.
Yep.
Your advice, Karl, to small to medium businesses and MSPs that aren't really mature or don't think they are to have a full CFO is what? Going back.
I think it really depends what's important to you as an owner of the business. You know, if getting to ready for an exit of some event and optimizing your P&L and driving forward with strategic financial initiatives is important. If it is I don't want to call it a lifestyle business, but a business you're happy with what you're making out of it and you're going to own it for the next 10 years, less important. I think if you put a premium on getting towards an exit, growing the business at X rate, you know, to lead to some kind of a financial transaction, that's more important to have a CFO on board sooner rather than later.
Yeah, I could see well that's the case. It really depends on the owner's story or where they are.
I think so. I think what
And
they
if
want
they're
to go.
ready to exit, you should really look into it.
Yep.
You know, Arlen Sorensen always has this, you're gonna exit the business vertically or horizontally.
Yep.
So have a plan.
Yep. That's the most important thing. You're absolutely right, Joe.
And I just read in the Wall Street Journal how just this week how more and more businesses aren't leaving their kind of businesses to their legacy, to their kids. They're exiting because of the advent of PE. So I think more and more, it's more and more important to have financial.
It is. It's created huge opportunities, and you're right. I've read things of that nature as well. PE money is just there, and it creates such a great value opportunity for owners that it's becoming more and more. And PEs are finding these businesses that they hadn't looked at in the past and saying, here's a roll-up play, something around a services. I think the services space is one of the higher growing relative to what had been in the past areas in PE.
And the recurring revenue is very attractive.
Yes. Yeah. Everyone loves, and me as a CFO,
of course you do.
One of the things that attracts me to any business is you're not trying to refill your sales pipe every quarter, starting at ground zero. Having a nice recurring model is very attractive to any finance person or investor.
What is it about finances that attracts you, Karl?
I'm just a very analytical person. Always have been. Math and problem solving, where there's pieces to a puzzle that you can fit together, has always been something that's interested me, and so I enjoy that challenge, being mentally challenged every day when I come to work. It all putting the pieces of the puzzle together for a business or within just a set of budget numbers is something that has always attracted me.
Are you more science or art?
Definitely more science. I like to think I wish I was more art. I think there's always the envy of, you know, gee, I wish I could write a song, write a book. I'm definitely more science, but I hope I have a little bit of a blend of both. More than a typical finance person that everyone's their model or template is all numbers. I don't think I'm quite that, but I definitely lean more heavily to the science.
You know, I have two daughters, and one's science, one's art. So my daughter likes science. She likes one answer. One answer. That's it. There's the answer. My other daughter could be any. Could be, you know,
I think
there's no right or wrong.
What I do, but it's funny, as I've grown in my career, I think I thought finance was all science, and it's
Right.
certainly there's a heavy leaning of
Sure,
analytics.
but
But you learn there is an art. There
Yeah.
is, hey, there's different ways to
How do we
look at
get
this, different solution strategies of how we get there. So I like the mix, but it's grounded in science.
Right.
It's grounded in analytics.
Sure.
And that's just more where my brain is.
So I don't know if you know this about me. So I started the MSP back in the 90s,
Yep.
and I was working way too much. I was working, you're very familiar with this,
Yeah.
right? 14,
Yep.
16-hour
Yep.
days, not paying attention to my diet. Got myself up to 340 pounds.
Oh my goodness, I didn't know that
Yeah,
about you, Joe.
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and the doctor said to me, if I don't lose the weight, I'm not going to see my daughter graduate. She
Yep.
was just born.
Yep.
Spent the next 6-7 months. You know, I'm driving home punching the steering wheel, right,
Yep.
Carl? I
Yep.
can't believe I've done this to myself
Yep.
because your body adjusts. It
Yeah.
doesn't know.
Yep.
So I lost about 130 pounds in about 6-7 months.
Wow.
You got to, you know, it's not a finishing line. A lot of
Yep.
people look at you got to keep going with it. So people ask me, how'd you do it? What's your secret? There's no secret, Carl. Discipline. That's how I did. I got a routine. I had a kind of come to Jesus moment, you
Yep.
know, and I was faced with this. I wonder how discipline plays a role in your life.
It's an important role. That's a tough question. I think we can always be more disciplined.
Yes.
I, wish work gets in the way often of good habits around health, etc. And I need to do a better job. I
Sure,
try
we
to
all
balance
do.
as much as I can, but
Yeah.
definitely in my work, discipline is what it's all about.
Right.
The finance is a very deadline driven, end goal driven of different projects. So you have to have discipline. Just to be successful to achieve your day to day. Every month there's a deadline. Get our numbers done, get them sent in every
Right.
year end, every budget
Quarters.
cycle. There's
Yes.
a process. So it's definitely heavily disciplined on the work side, I would say.
Oh.
I need to do a better job of balancing that into my personal life, obviously.
Yeah, we all do. I don't claim to be the king of discipline. You know,
No.
there's certain areas that we're good at, and there's others that we're not.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
What motivates you, Carl?
My family is
Yeah.
probably number one. Like I mentioned, I have my wife and my son are my driving force. They support me, and I feel an obligation to repay that to them. And just they're everything. So that's number one. And then self motivation, I think, is another piece. Like I'm a competitive person.
Are you?
I want to succeed. So that drives me. I feel an obligation to my company to do the best for them,
Yes.
and earn my keep. So that's really my driver, is just my own head. And it came from my parents. My parents worked very hard to provide things in my life that, were pushing themselves and sacrificing themselves. And so I feel that for my family too.
And given that motivation, how do you measure success?
It's that's a great question. I think my happiness, my pride in what I do is my measure of success. If I feel like I'm happy with the job I've done, with how the company's succeeding, I take losses to heart very hard, but I have to feel proud of the path I'm on, how the company's doing, how I'm doing personally, how I feel like I'm serving my family. That's my measures of success.
Yeah, that's really, really cool. So being from Manchester, Connecticut, so you're Red Sox,
Yes.
Patriots, Bruins,
Yep.
Celtics, all
That
Boston.
northern. We're none of those New York teams.
Yeah,
We're right on the Mason-Dixon
Me
line
too,
in
yeah.
Hartford, but I'm on the north side
You're
of
on
it.
the north side of it. Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. And it's a good time to be those fans.
It is.
Celtics are best in the world right
Yep,
now.
yep. Red Sox have a little work
Yeah,
to
a
do.
little work to
Patriots
do.
currently do, but hard to
Yes,
complain after
yes.
20 years
That's
of
right.
greatness. So,
That's right. Yeah.
Everybody goes through cycles, no
That's
doubt.
right.
I've learned that. But after, growing up and being my age, I went through a lot of very lean years of Boston sports, aside from the Celtics, I guess.
Right.
But definitely, it's been a wonderful couple decades of good things since.
Carl, thanks so much for your time.
Joe,
For anybody,
thanks.
if anybody watching, listening, and they want to get in touch with you, probably LinkedIn's the best place.
Yeah, LinkedIn is a great way to get in touch with me. But love to connect with anyone at any time. Definitely. Thank you, Joe, for having me. Appreciate
Thanks
it.
so much, Carl.
Take care.
Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Thank you for listening and or viewing Joey Pinz Discipline Conversations. Please share this episode with one or two of your friends who you think may benefit from the episode. Our website, www.joeypins.com. there. You find lots of resources and you could join our mailing list. Please follow us on all our social media, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Podcast information, the video version of our podcast is on YouTube. Please subscribe. Audio is on all major podcasting platforms. Please follow them. And if you like it, please consider giving 5-star rating. Would really appreciate that. Thank you again for listening or watching Joey Pinz Disciplined Conversations.